Step inside and you're wrapped in the scent of fresh bread and brewing tea. The kettle whistles, the radio hums, and sunlight filters through delicate lace curtains. A Pyrex bowl sits ready for mixing, the Aga gives off a gentle heat, and bright tins labeled tea and sugar line the counter. This was the 1960s British kitchen, the warm, beating heart of the home. Every sound, every smell, every corner told a story. Today, we're opening the door once more to relive 10 iconic things every 1960s kitchen had, and why they've stayed in our hearts ever since. Number 10. The net curtain at the kitchen window. No 1960s kitchen window felt complete without a net curtain. Delicate, lacy, and often handmade, they filtered the daylight so it came in soft and gentle, while still offering privacy from passers-by. Behind them, generations of mothers, grandmothers, and children watched the street, spotting the milkman, waving to neighbors, or keeping an eye out for the postman. On warm days, the window would be propped open, and the curtain would sway gently in the breeze, carrying in the scent of freshly cut grass or coal smoke from nearby chimneys. The net curtain wasn't just a decoration. It was part of the quiet ritual of home life, a frame for the daily theater outside. Today, blinds and modern glazing have replaced them in many homes, but for those who remember, their soft sway remains a gentle, comforting image of the past. The radio on the counter. Long before smartphones and streaming, the kitchen radio was a constant companion. Tuned to the BBC Light program or later Radio 2, it brought music, news and drama into the heart of the home. Mornings might start with the weather report as toast popped from the toaster. Afternoons were filled with music, from the Beatles to the Rolling Stones, drifting under the sound of chopping vegetables or the kettle whistling. The radio was more than background noise. It was a friendly presence, a voice that kept you company during chores. For children, it might mean listening to Saturday morning shows while eating cereal. For parents, it was a connection to the wider world while they worked through the day's tasks. Even as television grew in popularity, the radio held its place in the kitchen, a steady and familiar part of daily life. The Aga or Rayburn stove. In rural homes especially, the Aga or Rayburn stove was the beating heart of the kitchen. Always warm, these cast-iron cookers simmered stews, roasted joints of meat, and baked crusty loaves of bread. In winter, the kitchen would be the coziest room in the house, with socks drying on the rail above the stove and the air carrying the scent of slow-cooked meals. The gentle ticking and radiant heat gave the space a constant, lived-in warmth. Children would linger nearby to thaw cold hands after playing outside. While gas and electric cookers eventually replaced them in many homes, Agas never truly went out of style. They became a symbol of rustic charm and slow living. For those who grew up with one, the memory isn't just about the food it cooked, but the comfort it gave, a kind of warmth that wasn't just physical, but emotional. Number 7. Brightly colored canisters. The 1960s kitchen was never shy about color, and nothing showed this better than the countertop canisters. Bold reds, sunny yellows, and soft pastel blues were common, each labeled in big letters: tea, sugar, flour, biscuits. Often made of enamel or ceramic, they brightened even the greyest winter morning. Opening one was a sensory delight, the earthy aroma of tea leaves, the sweet scent of sugar, the warm smell of fresh biscuits tucked away for later. These canisters weren't just practical, they were part of the kitchen's personality. Some were gifts for weddings or housewarmings, and many stayed in use for decades. Today, they're beloved collectibles, often spotted in vintage shops, and remembered fondly as a cheerful part of everyday life. They weren't just containers, they were symbols of comfort, always ready to offer a cup of tea or a little treat. Number 6. The electric mangle. Before spin dryers became widespread, the electric mangle was the laundry day workhorse. Standing tall in the corner, it had two heavy rollers and a motor that turned them slowly. You'd feed wet laundry in one side, and it would emerge flatter, lighter, and with most of the water squeezed out into a bucket below. The rhythmic hum and faint smell of damp cotton filled the kitchen. Mothers would warn children to keep your fingers away, and with good reason. But despite its slightly intimidating look, the electric mangle was a godsend for big families with endless washing. Sheets, towels, and shirts all went through it before being hung out on the line. Eventually, spin dryers replaced it, and then automatic washers made both unnecessary. But for those who remember, there was something satisfying about the slow, steady process and the simple efficiency of that machine. Number 5. Pyrex mixing bowls. Heavy, sturdy, and smooth to the touch, Pyrex mixing bowls were a staple in nearly every kitchen. Clear glass versions were the most common, though some families had colored or patterned ones that added a dash of style. These bowls weren't just for mixing cake batter or kneading dough, they were part of family life. Children would stand on stools, sleeves rolled up, ready to stir, a spoon clinking gently against the glass. Pyrex could handle anything, boiling water, the oven, the fridge, without cracking. At Christmas, they'd hold the trifle with its neat layers of jelly, custard, and cream. At tea time, they might be filled with fresh fruit or salad. Even after decades, many Pyrex bowls are still in use today, passed down through generations. They're more than kitchenware. They're little time capsules, holding memories as carefully as they once held ingredients. The Teas Maid. It was the ultimate luxury for tea lovers, a gadget that combined an alarm clock and a tea maker into one clever machine. Set it the night before, and in the morning the gentle click and hiss would wake you to the smell of fresh brewed tea. While the Teas Maid was most often found in the bedroom, its spirit of convenience and innovation perfectly matched the 1960s kitchen. This was the decade when British homes started to fill with time-saving appliances, electric kettles, toasters, and mixers. The Teas Maid felt futuristic, a touch of jet-age glamour in an otherwise practical world. For many, it wasn't just about the tea, it was about starting the day with comfort. While it eventually became more of a novelty item, for those who had one, there was nothing quite like waking up to the soft sound of tea pouring into a waiting cup. The larder cupboard. In the days before refrigerators were common in every home, the larder was a kitchen's treasure chest. Usually a tall, cool cupboard with slatted wooden shelves and a mesh or vented door, it was designed to keep food fresh naturally. Inside, you might find butter wrapped in grease-proof paper, a loaf of bread, jars of homemade jam, and tins of corned beef or evaporated milk. There was often a faint, comforting smell, part flour, part dried herbs, part something sweet. In summer, it stayed cooler than the rest of the kitchen, a little sanctuary for perishables. Children learned quickly that if they wanted a biscuit or a spoonful of golden syrup, the larder was the place to look. As the refrigerator became affordable for most households in the late 1960s, the larder's role faded. But in many memories, it remains the place where good things were always waiting to be found. Number 2. The twin-tub washing machine. Before automatic washing machines became standard, the twin-tub was the pride of many 1960s kitchens. It had two deep compartments, one for washing and one for spinning. You'd fill it with hot, soapy water, and the clothes would slosh rhythmically inside, steam fogging up the nearby windows. Once the wash cycle was done, you had to lift the dripping laundry, heavy and warm, and place it into the spin tub. The sound of the spin cycle was a low, steady hum, almost hypnotic. For housewives of the time, it was a huge leap from the back-breaking labor of scrubbing clothes in a tin bath. Children would watch in fascination as socks and shirts whirled around, flattened against the side by centrifugal force. Eventually, fully automatic machines arrived and made laundry day simpler still. But for those who remember, the twin tub was a marvel of modern domestic life. The Formica table and chairs. If there was one thing that defined a 1960s British kitchen, it was the Formica table. Smooth, glossy, and available in pastel shades like mint green, lemon yellow, and powder blue. It brought a cheerful burst of color to the heart of the home. Families gathered here for every meal, from a quick piece of toast before work to long Sunday teas with Victoria sponge. The matching chairs, often with chrome legs, creaked slightly as you leaned back. You could spread out your homework while Mum made a pot of tea or play cards with Dad on a rainy afternoon. The best part? You could wipe it clean in seconds, no matter how much gravy or jam you spilled. But as open-plan dining and modern kitchen islands took over, these friendly, functional tables slowly vanished, though many still remember their cool surface under their elbows and the clink of teacups against it. And there we have it, 10 little pieces of the 1960s British kitchen, each one carrying the warmth of a time when life felt just a little slower and a little more connected. These weren't just objects, they were part of the rhythm of daily life. The sound of the kettle, the creak of a chair, the smell of bread baking. They were the backdrop to family laughter, quiet moments, and everything in between. Perhaps you still have a Pyrex bowl tucked away, or a tin canister sitting on your shelf, holding more memories than tea bags. If you do, treasure it, because these small things are the threads that connect us to where we've been. If you enjoyed this trip back in time, give this video a like, share your memories in the comments, and subscribe for more journeys into the past. Some stories deserve to be told forever.